and welcome to the Beauty is Found Within podcast, hosted by the beautiful Pippa Leslie. Pippa will be speaking about hers, others' spiritual stories, perspectives, and journeys, so we can in turn find the right match of resonance that speaks to our heart and souls. Each week, she will be sharing topics around spirituality, manifestation, mindset, self-love, and personal growth, as well as personal interviews with our fellow soul family and friends.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Beauty is Found Within podcast. I am so excited today. I'm speaking to a very special guest all the way from Australia. It is Denise DT. She's the author of a book that I read a while ago called Get Rich Lucky Bitch. Hi Denise.
Hi Pippa, how are you?
I'm really well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I was just laughing because I was thinking, because you told me you wanted to move to New Zealand, and you in New Zealand they're going to call you Peppa.
Oh yeah. I just love the accents. That part of the world really just has me pulled at the moment. So I'm so happy to be chatting to you today.
Me too.
So tell the listeners, Denise, a bit about your story, to pull them. I know some of my listeners love you anyway, and some of them have read your books, but just a little bit about your story and how you got onto the manifestation journey.
Yeah, so I grew up in Australia. I grew up with a single mum, and I think that really made me determined to be able to make my own money. So from a very early age, I was very interested in entrepreneurship, and I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to make my own money. And then when I was 14, I was always a massive reader, but I would go to this bookstore after school and I would stand in the aisles and read books. And I picked up this little red book, and it was called The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. And it's a book about the law of attraction. And I remember reading it and thinking, and it was very old fashioned, like a lot of those books were from, they were written in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And they're not really even talking about the law of attraction. They don't mention it, but it's almost like they're written for like salesmen to sell more, using these kind of persuasion and mindset tricks. But I remember reading that and thinking, wow, like you can control your thoughts and you can create a reality that's different for yourself. And so that book really set me on a path of personal growth and personal development. So I started reading, any books that I could get a hold of. And I remember reading books about astrology and things like that. But I loved watching Oprah after school. And especially back then in kind of the 90s, and Oprah went through this stage of she would talk about the kind of like Jerry Springer-y type things at the start of like Trisha, those controversial things. And then she started moving into like remembering your spirit. She changed to, and I got introduced to all these different concepts again of using your mind to create a different reality. And the thing that really stuck in my mind about Oprah is that she would talk about breaking the cycle. And I was very determined to break the cycle in my family of not having very much money, of having unhappy marriages, of being stuck in situations. And so I thought, well, cool, I want to be Oprah. But I didn't know that was a job, right? I was just like, but you can't just motivate people or inspire people for a living. Like that just isn't a thing. And it wasn't really a thing, definitely back in the 90s. And so I spent all of my 20s really looking for a way to be able to help people, but also have a business. And it seems really obvious now because, now coaching is a mainstream thing, and business coaching and life coaching is a mainstream thing. And like being a blogger, just inspiring people on YouTube or whatever, or podcasting, like what we're doing, right? It just wasn't, it wasn't a job, or it wasn't something that I felt like I could aspire to. So I spent my 20s really in and out of trying to start a business, and then I wouldn't be able to get any traction. I didn't know how to make money. And so then I would go back into a job, and I just played that dance for a long time. And then I hit 30, same as, kind of the age you're at now. And I went, you know what, I'm going to become a coach. And so I started down that path, and I loved it immediately. I was like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. Okay. But the problem that I had was like people would come to me and they'd say, I want to start a business. And I'd go, great, do this. And then they'd come back the next week, oh, I didn't do it. I was like, what's going on? Like, it's so simple. You just like make a list and you just follow it. And what I realized was that mindset was the thing that was holding everybody back. That was the thing that stopped them from taking the really simple action to do in their business. Because I thought business is easy. You just follow a system, you follow a process.
Yeah.
And so I really realized that mindset was going to be the place where I could help people. And then it was just a series of attrition, really. Like I would go, oh, I really like talking about money with my clients. And, oh, I really like working with women more than men. And so each couple of clients, I kind of adjusted my messaging or who I was talking to. And then about 8 years ago, I just went, you know what, I'm going to go all in on money. But I felt really scared to do that, because I thought, well, who am I to talk about money? You're not allowed to talk about money unless you've got like a certificate that says, you're allowed to talk about money. And so what I decided to do was just to talk about money like I would talk about it with a girlfriend, because that's what I did for a long time. I would just say to all my friends, hey, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, you can charge for that. Go on, you can do it. And so I just thought, well, hey, if that's all I do is just write my books and do my courses and create my videos as if I was talking to a friend, if it's useful for someone, I'll continue doing it. And it has been useful for people. So I've continued to do it.
This is the thing with people, like I'm the same as you, Denise. Like I love helping people with mindset. I do think mindset is the key to moving forward in your life, because I think people they have so many blocks there anyway, from obviously, as you know, from trauma, from past life, from when you were like children. But it's that mind. It's like a shift, isn't it? It's like a light switch once you really started to work on a mindset. I think the problem is it's just doing it. It's like I have that with clients. They just get to a point and I said, did you do it? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, that is where it's like a line you have to cross. And when they've made that little shift, it's like, whoa. It's because I always say to my clients and my friends and anyone that I meet is, you're manifesting every single day of your life. You're just not aware of it yet. And when you start to become aware of it, it's like a total game changer, because then you're actually like co-creating your life. It's just like that. And that book, I'm definitely going to read that book that you mentioned about, is it The Magic of Life, or it's
The Magic of Believing. I'd be curious to how it holds up today, but you do go back to some of those old school books. Like Florence Scovel Shinn is a perfect example. She again talks about the law of attraction, but it's these timeless principles of controlling your thoughts and the words that you say out loud. And that does have a massive impact on your reality. And if, for those of you who are skeptical and just go, but it sounds like magic, like how does that work? But if you really look at it from a logical point of view, well, at the moment, your thoughts create your habits create your daily reality and actions that you take or not take. And those actions compound over time to create your reality. And you can decide to do that in a positive or negative way, right? There are people who constantly have negative thoughts. They're constantly saying negative things. They don't take action, or they often take negative action because they believe that nothing works out for them. And then that creates their reality. And you can choose to do it in a positive spiral or a negative spiral. So there's nothing necessarily magic about it, but it's the compounding of all those tiny little micro decisions. And then you can't deny that when you're in the flow of that, something magic does happen. And I always think it's that 10% that you just cannot explain. And it's like, that has to come from somewhere, but it doesn't happen outside of you. You have to start the process and you have to start the ball rolling. And then when you're in flow, synchronistic things do happen that feel like magic.
Yeah, so that's like my life. My life every day is synchronicity after synchronicity after synchronicity. My partner will be laughing because he's just like, we're in a soulmate relationship, twin flame relationship, and it's like, since we started dating, it's been synchronicity after synchronicity, and he's a big believer. And I think that's the word. It's belief. People have lost belief. And my views is that people have lost the magic. Like they've lost, like as a child, how much we were in awe of life. Like we would look out the window, we'd be on a walk with our parents or our family or friends, and we'd see all the just the magic of life. And I still do. Like I'm a huge Disney fanatic. Like I love Disney. I'm like a child, but that's the magic for me. It's like bringing the good feelings back into your life, because like you said, as we get older, these cycles start to become our life, as in we should be doing this, we should be doing that, instead of breaking those cycles and going, no, there is no set way of living. And I know I want to create the magic in my own life.
Yeah, when you talk about magic in that way, I've noticed the last probably a couple of years, I've started to read things on Twitter. I've started to be kind of engaged in what's happening politically. And I have to be so mindful about what I'm putting into my brain, because if I don't limit that exposure, I feel myself stopping believing in magic, and it's like in Peter Pan, where they have to believe in it. And that's what makes them fly, is the belief. And they stop believing and they fall to the ground. And I have to be so vigilant of what's going in my brain, because I stop believing in magic.
Yeah, it's especially now with what's going on in the world as well. It's like I've probably had, in the last 3 months, I've had probably more people that I've actually like attracted just to help, like not as clients, just to help, because I'm a big believer that the old teachings of Lao Tzu, like I'm really into like the old way of living, because I'm so connected to Mother Earth. It's like just having reverence for all life. I think that's kind of like in this time at the moment as well, people are just looking for hope, looking for faith, when they only have to look within, because what we're going through now is as a collective, it's the whole world going through it. And I think we're going to come out of it. It's going to be amazing. We are going to come out of this virus and what's been going on this year. But that is something that I've been asked a lot, is, well, how do I manifest through this through this virus? Like, and it's for me, it's not a time for manifestation. It still is. I've spent the last 3 months really going deep, doing loads of reading, doing loads of growth, really learning and doing as much as I can. But I've never stopped wanting to manifest. I think people are kind of confusing that, thinking that, because we're in a pandemic, we can't manifest.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's always going to be stuff, right? Even if you live a life that is about manifesting, then there's never going to be a point where things are perfect anyway, right? Like getting to a point where you're, I don't know, in flow. It doesn't mean that you're still going to have to pay bills. You're going to still have to pick up your dog poop. People that you love will still die. Like it's not like none of us are going to be able to live forever. You never get to a point where you're perfect all the time. But I actually think that's the thing that holds a lot of people back from manifesting what they want, is they feel like it's a test of perfection. And I totally get this as well. Like I remember I actually first heard about the kind of the law of attraction from Oprah when she had the people on from The Secret. But I really thought, I can't manifest because I'm not perfect. I don't meditate every day. I'm not a super spiritual person. I'm not allowed to, get the benefits of manifesting because I'm flawed. But that's the thing. Like anyone can live in that flow if you are okay with the fact that you're not going to be perfect and you're just a normal person.
Yeah, because everyone's so different. Like some people aren't as spiritual as me and you, and it's what works for you. And I think that's one thing that I say to people is, it's finding a way that works for you, because when you're trying to say perfect a cycle or a habit or whatever it is that isn't aligned with who you are, it's not going to feel right for you, and then you're not in flow, and then you're not in alignment with what you truly desire. And one thing that I'm really, really reading around at the moment is more about that we're spiritual beings having the human experience. Like that I am constantly really like delving deep into, because my partner, he's science background, so he's very like scientific and wants to do research. And it's like, when you think of it, we are just strings of energy. It's like the string theory, we are strings of energy. And even our thoughts are energy. Like, it's when people have that real shift in your thoughts do create your reality. It's
Mhm.
it is magic. Like, I truly believe it is magic, because I want to see it that way, because it's a great way of seeing the world. Like, some people are in constant state of like pessimistic, negative energy, and like you said, it's what are they looking at on a daily basis? Are they watching news all the time? Are they reading negative articles? Are they surrounded by negative people? You know, one of the tips that I really took away from your book, Denise, was about the decluttering of your life, because that is one thing that I do a lot of, because the amount of times we have been, everyone's got that drawer in the kitchen that is full of rubbish that we could just
Yeah.
sort out every day, really. So I think decluttering your life as well to make space for that new, it's just such a simple thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I
And it
always
is,
tell people, when in doubt, shave your legs, because
yeah,
the decluttering thing is just about moving energy. And when you feel stagnant, when you feel like nothing's working for you, literally go declutter something, but go shave your legs. Like, it makes such a
yeah.
difference just to go, okay, I've moved the energy, now I can take action, or I can move on, or I can do something.
Yeah, I tend to just like proper shake it off. Like, I shake my whole body. If I'm in one of those, like if I wake up in one of those moods where I'm just like, okay, today's not as, as good as it was yesterday. It's still going to be a good day. I always say, I always laugh. It's like, when you get out of bed and you stump your toe, and people it's getting that mindset, oh, I'm going to have a bad day now because I've stumped my toe. It's actually realizing, no, it's okay. Like, I always think they're little nudges from the universe going, are you going to have a bad day today? You're going to see that stump toe as a bad day. I always laugh because I have fun with it. So I go, no, it's okay. It's fine. Because it is the way of looking at it. And it's not, for me, it's seeing the good. Like, obviously that's why my business is called Beauty is Found Within, because it's just seeing the beauty in everything, seeing the good in everything that happens to you.
Yeah, totally. And I actually like to see everything as a positive omen most of the time, or
Yes.
something like that, where it'd be like, oh, this is a reminder from the universe to slow down or to pay attention. And so I don't know if it was in Get Rich Lucky Bitch. I think it's in my first book, Lucky Bitch, where I talk about this book that I had read called The Luck Factor by Richard Wiseman. And this was a massive influence on me, this book, because it talks about a study done of people who identify as lucky or people who identify as unlucky. And so he did this study where he's like, do you feel like you're a really lucky person? Do you feel like you're a really unlucky person? Come to come to my office and to do this study. And so what they did, the researchers, they planted money outside the building, and a note. And then when people came in, they were like, cool, do this questionnaire to see if you're a lucky or unlucky person. And of course, the people who identified as lucky found the money. The people who identified as unlucky didn't even see the money. And so he talks about how luck is this thing that you can learn, because it is your belief in, is the world a good place or a bad place? Am I a lucky or unlucky person? And you look for opportunities. You're always looking for, well, the universe wants me to be happy, or good things happen to me. And so you look for them, you expect them to happen. And so I thought, when I read that, I was like, well, maybe I can choose to be luckier. And I really looked at those habits and thought, how can I consciously cultivate them in my life to be a luckier person? And what's really funny is I find money all the time.
Yeah,
And it
same.
always happens when I'm around someone else, and money will just like fly. Like, they'll be like, oh, this $20 just appeared. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm teaching that to my kids. So whenever I find money on the street, I try and get Willow to see it. And then I'll be like, you're a money magnet. And so she believes that she's a money magnet, and then she'll look for money and she'll find it too. So it's a learned thing, that even if you think that nothing good happens to you, you can turn that around by changing your thoughts and feelings about it. And this is really cool because I'm sitting in my office at the moment. I can see dolphins out in the ocean. It's like,
Oh my God, I love
hi.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
you manifested them.
Yeah, and we see whales all the time too. But it's not like, I am a woo-woo person, but it's not necessarily woo-woo to train your brain in more positive ways. Like you can be the most skeptical person in the world and still benefit from training your brain to look for the positivity, to look for opportunities, to believe that you are worthy of those opportunities. That is something that you can do. You can change. It doesn't matter what circumstance you grew up in. You can change your circumstances by your beliefs.
Yeah, you can change your life in a day, like in an instant. It's just having that. It's that moment where you go, right, that's it. Because I was like that. I split up with my ex-partner last year, and I was like, right, I'm just going to go to Australia because I am a very brave person, and I just feel like I am a woo-woo person, and I follow my heart, I follow my intuition, and that calling. And Australia is always calling me from afar. Like it's just, I went for 3 months, and it was just the best 3 months of my life because I just really grew there, and I just met some amazing people, and it all led me to Chris, my partner, which is just another story for another time. But we are going to write that story at some point because it's such a beautiful story, a love story. So what I wanted to ask you, Denise, which is really coming up for me, I'm just like, I always flow with the questions, is what money blocks have you been through which you've overcome?
All of them. No, people sometimes assume that because I write books about money or I teach about money that I must be perfect with money. But again, it's that fallacy, right? The perfection fallacy. And so what I find is that we all have universal money blocks that we share. So a shared collective one is that you have to work really hard to make money. That's just, it's collective. And one of the reasons why it's collective is because of the time that we are in, is that a lot of us grew up where we did see that having a business was really hard, and it required a lot of investment, a lot of capital, a lot of one-to-one kind of, hustle like that. And so we saw that, whereas we now live in a world where you can create a business online. We have tools that support us. There's very little barrier to entry to being in business, but it's like we haven't quite caught up with that. We still think it has to be hard. And, there are a lot of collective stories around that of like money doesn't grow on trees and you don't get something for nothing. And, kind of dismissing ease as like, oh, that's money for jam or money for old rope. And every country has got their own, and every family has got their own, right? So I obviously have those, but then everyone, once you look at that, right, which is a big part of it, everyone's got their own little nuggets. And it's almost like your fear of what would happen if you had more money, and everyone's got their own individual fear, right? So it's usually something that you have to give up. And so it could be love. You think, well, I can have love or money, but never both. And so you'll see that sometimes where someone's successful in their business, but they're single, and then they have a relationship and their business dies, or, they split up and then their business grows again. And so they prove it over and over again that I can't have both. For some people, it is health. Their business goes really great and then they burn out, or they have some sort of chronic illness that's triggered by overwork. And so it just proves it over and over again. Oh, I can't have both. Some people, it's integrity. They've got this massive story about if I make more money, I'll lose my integrity. I won't be an ethical person. I won't be environmentally conscious. I won't be caring or loving or whatever it is. And I'll tell you mine, and it follows me over and over and over again. Okay, so mine is I can't be wealthy and humble. And so
that really resonates with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what I mean? I can't be down to earth and wealthy. And so each time I hit like new income plateaus, I kind of go, well, people like me up until now, but if I make any more money, then they won't like me anymore, or they won't, they won't think I'm down to earth or whatever, because I get told that all the time. Oh, you're so down to earth. And so if that's something that, people say, oh, you're this, you're that, there's going to be a fear that, oh, okay, well, people like me now, but they won't like me if I doubled my income, and actually for a long time I had it around like, I can't be skinny and wealthy. Whereas usually people have got it the other way around. They're like, oh, I need to lose weight to make money because I can't be fat and rich. And I deliberately use that fat word because I think it's a real trigger point for some people. And so I was like, oh, but I made money when I'm not a skinny person. I'll never be a skinny person. And so I was like, oh, people will really hate me if I have money, have a good relationship, and I'm skinny? No, you're not allowed to have that. And so I think once you kind of work through your things around working hard, the next way to go is to look at what do you feel like you personally have to give up? And it sounds like that down to earth one is a big one for you, but what else resonates around that for you, Pippa?
I just think it's at the moment, I think I'm struggling with the fear of success because I'm close to kind of hitting a target, not a target, but hitting a milestone that I can feel is right there. And I think I've just got a little block where it's like, come on, Pip, it's literally there. So like it, I have affirmations every day, but I was just thinking of something you said then about, it's like the concept of I'll be happy when I have this. And it's like I'm already happy and I've done so much work around that. But I do feel there's like just that little nudge that I need to just flick away around fear of success, fear of having it all, fear of, because we can have it all. It's like you said, you don't have to sacrifice anything. The only thing I'd want to sacrifice is letting go of material things in general. Like I'm about to sell my home and all my possessions because I'm going to be moving to New Zealand. So I'm at peace with that I don't need any material things, as in, I want them. I like to have a TV and I love my PlayStation. I love my PC, all those things that I love, but I don't need them in my life. So for me, it's still surrendering, letting go of all that to keep moving forward.
So that fear of success thing, right? What would be really good for you is to go one layer deeper because it's still quite generic, right? Fear of success. You need to name a specific fear of what that success would be. And so it's that more money, more problems thing, right? And so you could list them out and go, okay, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'll have to pay more taxes. Okay, well, what's the worst thing that could happen there? Well, I'll screw it up and I'll be sent to jail. And I'm Australian, right? So I think we have this underlying fear of that the convict ships and being sent.
They sent them all there.
Absolutely. And so, that lives in me here, but everyone's got their own fears that live in them. Oh, I'll be bankrupt or I'll fuck it up or they'll do something. And so it's really good to name that fear, and you can get super specific. So I live in my dream beach house now that I've been manifesting for 10 years, but I did this exercise with that. Why don't I want that? What are all the reasons why it would suck having a beach house? And one of the things I had to work through was a fear of tsunamis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was one of my fears. I was like, I can't live by the beach. And even as I'm saying it, I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about tsunamis for a while. Because I used to think about it every day and I'd be like, what's my plan? What's my tsunami plan? And so for some of those fears that you uncover, you can put together a plan for it, right? You can go, oh, well, I can have insurance for that, or I can, I'll deal with that when I come. And then some things you just go, you know what, I can't make a plan for that. But I had to. I was like, okay, here's my tsunami plan. And then each time you uncover one of those specific fears and either live with it or let it go, you get one step closer, because all the unacknowledged stuff keeps you so far away from it because it's not safe for you to do that. And, in some things we take really personally, like Corona, right? We're taking it so personally because it's like, how did I manifest this?
Yeah.
How did I manifest this, right? And so many people in my community at the start of Corona were like, oh my God, I totally manifested this, Denise. I feel so bad. I was asking for more time off, or I was asking for, ease and peace, and I wanted to stay at home, and I wanted to cancel this speaking gig that I'd said yes to, and all these things, right? But it's like we can't control everything, but we can control how we feel about it. And so if you uncover all of those things, it just gets you closer and closer to receiving it into your life.
Yeah, I mean, two things. I think the coronavirus has been a collective manifestation but that's kind of another podcast for another story. But yeah, that's kind of like what I think. But something you've said which really, really does resonate with me with a fear is the whole being humble, because I have grown up. It's so funny how this call was definitely meant for me to kind of work on something after we've had this chat. But for me, I've grown up in quite a wealthy family, and my mum and dad have worked really hard. They've had their own business, so I wanted to follow in the footsteps like you, Denise, from a young age. I went and studied business. I wanted my own business one day, and I have that now. But I think it's the whole, because I grew up in a wealthy family, I was labelled a snob. I was labelled, upper class, all those kind of things you go through high school. I was bullied for having a good holidays every year. I was bullied for just loads of things that, it wasn't the case. It was just probably down to a lot of jealousy. So I've dealt with that my whole life. So I do think it is that. It's the whole, I've built this massive, amazing community of women and men who look up to me as this inspirational person. I'm thinking, wow, if I start to become wealthy, I'm going to lose my integrity. I'm going to lose my humility, and I'm not. It's just, I think that's what it is. What you said, it resonated with me so much. It sparked something in me straight away.
This is why I'm so fascinated by this work, right? Because if you had asked me 15 years ago, I would have said only people who grew up poor have money blocks. Because I just thought, but if you got money, what's the problem? But now that I've worked with so many people, I realize there's so many complexities around it, right? Because again, we all have that story. You have to work really hard to make money, whether your parents had to work 3 jobs to do it, or your parents had to bill 100 hours because, and they were super wealthy. It's so, it is that collective story, but also it's all about perception, right? So I've heard from people who actually grew up pretty wealthy, but compared to their peers, they weren't as wealthy. So then they felt really poor. And then, you might have grown up where it's like relative to the people that you grew up with, you were really rich. And so you have this story about, oh my God, I'm a rich bitch if I, or it's not safe for me to be visibly wealthy. And so it is all about perception. It's often, it's stories, right? I actually didn't grow up with very much money, but I didn't know for a long time because when you grow up in government housing, everyone has the same house, literally the same house. And so I was just like, oh, cool, I'm just the same as everyone else. And then my mum married quite a wealthy guy when I was 11. And so we moved to his kind of mansion. And then it was the same that you experienced, where my friends were like, oh, you think you're so good now? Yeah. And it was like, oh, that was really painful. So it's really good to unlearn some of that stuff. And even the things that you were teased about, money aside, I find that the key to finding your ideal business is to unlearn some of those lessons. Because I was always a leader, so I was called bossy. And it took me years to unlearn that. I see people who naturally loved being the center of attention, and they should be able to do that on stage and things like that, but they were called a show off. So they learned to dim that down. People who were chatty in school and they were told, well, you're never going to get far if you just talk all the time. They're the ones going, I really want to start a podcast, but I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to chat for a living. It's like, go back to what you naturally did as a kid, or what you got in trouble for as a kid, or what you got teased for, because that is the clue to what you should be making money from.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm working on now, and it's another piece to the jigsaw. So thank you for asking that question. But I think as well, it's the whole, I was a leader, and I was always really mature growing up. So I was kind of the leader of my friends, and I was always really motivational and positive, and I would get called bossy. I would be like, oh, you're bossy. And I remember my family saying, I'm a talker. I love talking. And it'd be like, I wouldn't get told to be quiet, but it was just, oh, do you ever give your mouth a rest? And I'm like, nope. So it's like, now I'm on a podcast, so I'm just great. It's the great thing for me to be doing this, but there's something there I need to uncover, and I can feel it. So I think definitely tomorrow I'm going to be sat with my partner saying, right, I'm going to sit down and, because I've done inner child healing before and things like that. So going back to those memories of when I was called this, when I was called that, because there's a lot there, there's a lot that I haven't really gone to yet, but it's just those labels that your closest people would say about you that were meant for you, because you had to really look at them and go, okay, so that's what's blocking me right now. Nearly 30, I'm literally so close to having it all, and there's something just there that I need to literally flick away, or not just flick away, just to heal and just to realize and then start to build new positive affirmations around something.
Well, what you just said there about inner child, I really think that inner child work is so, so important for manifesting, because really it comes down to, do I believe that I'm enough? Do I believe that I'm lovable? And am I okay? And I remember doing some inner child work where I actually bought myself a little teddy because I just felt like I needed to carry something around, and I only needed to carry it for a week, if that. But it was so healing for me. And I did a meditation where I invited into a beautiful, safe space a version of me at every single age, starting from being a baby to now to in the future. And we all sat there, and each time the new version came in, I gave them a hug and I said, I love you and I'm here for you. And I 100% accept you and I'm always here, because I just felt like you need to reinforce that I am enough. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And I was like, even though there were times in my life where I didn't have somebody to tell that to me, I can say it to myself, and I can almost like, if we think that time is not linear, that each of those things exist at any one time, you can almost go back in time and heal that in yourself, because you'll feel the benefits from it today, and then you allow yourself to receive. Another thing I do with money around that too is I get people to think about a store or a thing that they wanted as a kid that they weren't allowed to have. And for me, it was like Billabong. It's that surf brand Billabong. I don't know if you know it.
Yeah.
And so, growing up in a beach town, like that's what the cool kids had, is like Billabong jumpers and stuff like that. And so I had to like almost heal that inner teenager as well. And now I allow myself to go in and buy stuff. It's not even that expensive now, but there was even as an adult, I'd be like, oh, I'm not allowed to have stuff from Billabong. And so I had to go in and heal that, which sounds trite, but there's something there about like, what am I not allowed to have, and how can I give that to myself now, whether it's something as fundamental as love and care and attention, or it's kind of superficial, like I was never allowed to have, sparkling water, or I was never allowed to have that thing. You're allowed to. You can give it to yourself now.
Yeah, it's so important. Inner child healing, like I've been studying a lot of it, and I've just finished a diploma around it as well, because I'm so intrigued by it because of my Disney fanatic. Like I really connect to people's inner child because I get them to go back to what they loved as a child too. So it's that what you just said, Denise, is what did you love? Like what did you love to do as a child? Like what was kind of even just like you said, having a teddy bear like with you, like I've got Disney teddies all over my bed everywhere. Like it's my whole house is full of Disney because it makes me feel good. And for so many years, I never embraced that because it's time to grow up. It's that whole, people telling you to grow up, and you're too old for that now. And it's not. You're never too old for any of it.
No.
It's whatever makes you feel alive. It's just go with that, because that is where you're going to truly align with, because this life is short in comparison to something that me and my partner have been looking at, is the Hubble field, through the telescope and all those galaxies up in the sky, in space. That just really wrecks your brain when you think of it. But life goes by like an instant if you think about time, space and reality. And you're here to just live your life and just be happy and do what makes you happy and heal in the process. But, when you go to those parts that need healing, that's where the true growth is, because you go into the dark places that need you to grow, and you step into the light every single day. And it's just amazing. It's an amazing place to be, knowing that you have the tools, you have people like you, Denise, and like me who want to help, because that's what we're here. That's our mission here today.
And life's going to go by anyway.
Yeah.
It really will, and all the people listening who you've got a book in your heart you want to release, you've got a course, you've got a business that you want to create, you've got a dream house. It's like the world is literally going to go on without you. It's people will survive if you never release your book, but think of all the lives that you can change by stepping into that and just moving forward imperfectly like I did at the start, which I still do, to be honest. But like life's going to go on. It really will. So why not?
Yeah, exactly. Just do it. So that is a great way. That's a great way to finish the interview. Is just like, just do it. Just go for it. Because at the end of the day, what is the worst that can happen? I say that every time. What is the worst that could happen? Really?
Yeah,
It's
nothing.
yeah, nothing. Exactly. Like, that's why there's just nothing.
You can just tweak. Like if you move to New Zealand and you don't like it, move somewhere else. Like,
Yes.
who cares? It's not
Yes.
going to be bad.
Second choice would definitely be Australia. It'd be definitely Burleigh. Might head down there, see my old friends. I just love the place.
Super close to New Zealand, so you can have whatever you want. You just have to focus on it and do the work, and yeah, we can all have whatever we want. So, and you know, I love one of the reasons why I love doing podcasts so much is because I know when I was starting off my journey of manifesting, and I would be commuting to work or I'd be in my cubicle trying to listen to a podcast, and it was just my lifeline. You know, I'd be like, oh, there are other people out there who think like me, and I so desperately want it to be my reality. So I always send an extra special shout out to those, you know, listening in your car, or, you know, you're on your commute on the way to work. Your life isn't what you want it just yet, but it will. And listening to stuff like that, like this interview, really, really helps. And you will get there. You really will.
Yes, you definitely will. Thank you so much, Denise. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and my listeners are going to love this episode. They really are, because they just, when I told them all, like, I'm doing an interview with Denise, they're like, oh my God, I love her book. So I'm so grateful you came on today.
Absolutely my pleasure. And I'd love to connect with your audience. I'm on Instagram at Denise DT. And I love when people listen to a interview and tell me what they got out of it. Because I'm a Virgo. I love being of service. So yeah, you can find me at Denise DT. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your beautiful day in Australia, and I'll be going back to sleep now.
Yes, hopefully you can. I always get I can never sleep after interviews, but that's why I always do them during the day.
Amazing. Thanks, Denise. Well, I'll just say bye to my listeners, and I hope you really enjoyed this interview, and reach out to Denise, you know, follow her and just get her books for sure. And yeah, I really enjoyed this interview with Denise, and I'll be back shortly with another interview at some point. I hope you have a beautiful day wherever you are, and any questions, always reach out to any of us and we'll get back to you. Bye for now, guys.